Alright, are we good? Yeah, we're all good. Cool, cool. I'll alert the Discord that we're live, and then we're gonna get this started. Here we go. There we go. Alright. Put the shit in the Discord. Man. I need to decide what game I'm gonna play. I need to decide what game I'm gonna play. Cause I don't know. I genuinely don't know just yet. Like I could play Minecraft. I could hop on Gage's Realm. And just like do some wandering. That's what I'm gonna do. We won't do CS today. We'll do some wandering on Minecraft. Nobody's here. It's a movie channel stream. I expect there to be like 3 people in here. Maybe I should just start doing these on the main channel anyway. Just to get guaranteed viewership now. I'm joking. I want to build up the movie channel a little bit more. I want to start maybe reviewing movies once a week. Honestly, I might do a written review for this film. Potentially. Morning Glory's a 10. We're not talking music here today. I don't give a shit what you think about music right now. We're here to talk about a motherfucking movie. Here to talk movies. And this is a film. Oh, shit. Am I doing Don't Be Dumb? Maybe. We'll see. We will see. Realms, the Realm of Gage. No one's on. I'm going to be the only one on the Realm. I've, of course, got a cup of tea with me, because what else would I be drinking? God, this film's so fucking good. Oh my god, this film was just stunning. Head to toe. Like, just absolutely stunning. Need to move some shit around. I got a messy desk. But yeah, this film, top to bottom, was just electric. It was electric is the only fucking word I can use to describe it. I kind of couldn't believe what I was watching. It was an immense viewing experience, man. There was just something so magical. Genuinely something absolutely fucking magic about this fucking film. JC's on. I don't even know where to start. Like, I genuinely don't know where to start talking about this. There's so many different facets that make this film so fucking brilliant. There's so many very specific choices in the violence of this film, in the beauty of this film, in the writing, in the pacing, in the editing, in all of the bizarre choices that ultimately lead to such a satisfying and such a shockingly profound watch. And I don't want to sit here and just, be the pretentious guy who calls the film profound and a masterpiece, but genuinely, like, I I have not been able to stop thinking about this film since I got out of the cinema at 5:10 this afternoon, and it's now 1:20 in the morning. Man, this is a good ass movie. This yeah, it's a good film. It's a very good film. I really, 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 really fucking loved it. I guess I'll start by giving non-spoiler... I'll start by giving a non-spoiler review of the film. That's how we'll kick this off. 28 years later, The Bone Temple is a direct follow-up, of course, to last year's 28 Years Later, this time directed by American director Nia DaCosta, instead of the re-teaming up of Alex Garland and Danny Boyle, which we had for the last film. Alex Garland writing it and Danny Boyle directing it. Alex Garland did write this film, and Danny Boyle did co-produce it with Alex Garland, but he was not involved in the writing or direction of this film. This was a Nia DaCosta directed film and Alex Garland written film. Now, Nia DaCosta is a director who's gotten a very bad rap after her direction on The Marvels, which I think is incredibly unfair, because that film was completely taken out of her control by the fucking higher-ups at Marvel, essentially just completely scrapping her vision for the film and reworking it, retooling it into an MCU product. And that's really unfortunate, because this film right here proves that Nia DaCosta has so much to offer as a director. This film proves just how well she can craft something that is tense, something that is thrilling, something that is horrific and disturbing, but also, fuck me, this film is beautiful. This film has so much heart. This film has so much taste. This film is absolutely... like, it's a masterclass in balancing such strikingly different tones. This film will, at points... I've criticized movies like Cars 2 for this before, where it will go back and forth between a scene of really, like, warm-hearted, beautiful character connection to some of the most disgusting and brutal torture scenes I have seen in a film in a while. You know? Like, legit, we cut from... we kind of have two storylines going on throughout this film that converge. We have Ralph Fiennes returning as Dr. Kelson from the first film, and his continued exploration into the infection and what it is to be infected, how you can kind of form these connections with the infected, and kind of learning more about them. And then we have Jack O'Connell returning from... he was only in the very end of the first film as Jimmy Crystal, who is essentially like both our second lead and our villain of the film, where he is leading his gang of Jimmies, a.k.a. the Fingers, on this crusade to take out anyone who doesn't stand with their belief system. Oh, fucking hell, what is... Chunk still loading? Okay. Yeah, they're on a mission to take out anyone who disagrees with them, who doesn't follow their ideology, and also recruit people into their ideology along the way, like, as we see at the... I'm going to spoil the first film, okay? I kind of need to spoil the first film to talk about the second film, because this picks up right where the first film left off. Yeah, you know, like at the start of the film, where he recruits Spike, who was our lead of the first film, the child that comes from... Oh my god, we found another ball. Haven't seen it. How would I compare it to the last one? It's better. I really, really like the last one. I gave it a 7 out of 10 on a first viewing. I would up that to an 8 out of 10 now. But it's even better. This film is it's breathtaking, dude. Seriously. I'm going to screenshot this and put it in Gage's Discord because this is another bowl, and I feel like some people may want to build here. Yeah, these two storylines kind of converge throughout the film, and I'm gonna kind of give a basic synopsis that doesn't get into spoilers here. The film picks up right where we left off with Jimmy, the Fingers, and Spike, kind of showing how he gets recruited into this group, and then we essentially are, for half of the film, following them along their crusade across the country, running into people, seeing how they interact with people, and what it is specifically that their cult stands for, and why it is they became a cult in the first place, which is explored a little bit in the first film. You're kind of given the context with the opening scene of the first film, but you don't learn what happens in between that opening scene and then the final scene of the film where we're first introduced to the Jimmies. And the other half of the film is dedicated, of course, like I said, to Ralph Fiennes' character, Dr. Kelson, who is furthering his research into the infected, furthering his relationship with the alpha infected from the last film, Samson. And a lot of people were worried from the trailers, because obviously in the trailers, Samson is wearing a robe. And, people are like, wait, are we not going to get any infected pee-pee in this film? There is plenty of it. And it's even more on display in this film than it was in the last one. The nudity in this film, like, I didn't even, like, really fully clock it when I was watching the last film. I was like, oh yeah, the zombies were naked. Like, after the fact, it was in my head, like, oh yeah, the zombies were naked. Or the infected were naked, sorry. In this film, the nudity just feels so much more exaggerated. And I don't know, I don't really care. I don't think it's like a terrible thing. I think it's like kind of realistic and adds a whole new layer of grit to the film. But yes, there is plenty of zombie dick in this film. So don't worry about that in case you were worried about that being missing from this film. I'm just going to put this in this Discord real quick. Let me find the coordinates for this. Minus 6708, minus 3462. 6708, minus 3462. In case anyone wants to build here. Wait, did I put that in the right chat? I did. Good. But yeah, the controversial ending of this film, of the last film, sorry, not this film. The controversial ending of the last film, if you didn't like that, don't worry, because that isn't how... I don't want to say it isn't how the Jimmies are in this film. They do still kind of behave like that with this manic, childlike energy. They really don't care about the infected at all. Like, there's multiple scenes where there is an infected attack and they just fucking rip through them like it's literally nothing. Like... Haven't you showed it's a massive improvement over 28 years? I concur. Yeah. Like, the Jimmies in this film aren't, like, a completely fucking cartoonish, doing Power Rangers backflips and shit like that. They're still stupid. They're still... equal parts funny and disturbing. Like, it can be hilarious watching them be as stupid as they are, and then they can show in the same breath just how, like, nasty and fucked they can get. Like, this film, there are some scenes where like I remember in my review of the first 28 years later, I was talking about like, man, they really like upped the violence in this one. Like the other 28 films aren't really like gory necessarily. Like they're intense, but they and like kind of violent, but they aren't like filled with graphic gore. This film, oh my god. If you thought like 28 years later was a step up in the violence, yeah, this film is like, oh fuck, I already grabbed the table. This film is fucking disturbing. Like legitimately incredibly disturbing in its violence. It's so mean. It's so harsh. It's so brutal. It's so detailed as well. Jimmy didn't do what I did. What do I... Wait. I have no idea. Oh my god, is this the whole fucking, like... It's a whole mountain range of mountain bowls. Someone get Gage in this stream now. He needs to hear about this. Anyway. What's up, Chivo? Yeah. This film is graphically violent. It's disturbing. It really, like, it isn't scary. This film isn't scary necessarily. That's not the type of horror it's going for, where the previous films really tried to instill a feeling of, like, genuine, like, fear in you. That's not what this film does. This film, in comparison to the others, is much more focused on making you feel uncomfortable and making you feel like you shouldn't be seeing what you're seeing because of the amount of detail. Like, there were multiple points where I was, like, looking away, looking down at my popcorn. This film is nasty. It is nasty in that regard. And I appreciate that is kind of the thing that distinguishes this from the others. This has the least infected action out of any of the films. By a landslide, this has the least. They are, besides Samson, not a big part of this film. There's, I think, 3 infected attacks, and they're all incredibly brief. So brief. So if you're going into this film wanting a wild zombie movie that's going to be about, like, people fighting for survival against the infected and people, you know, getting into all of these crazy situations with them, that's not what happens. This film's honestly quite contained. There is, like, adventuring going on with the Jimmies, but it's genuinely pretty contained. We only have, like, 2 or 3 major locations throughout the film. There is... you see in the trailer all of them gathered around in, like, this old swimming place. That's one of the locations. There is Dr. Samson's bone temple, and then there is a farmhouse. Those are our 3 locations in this film. And besides that, it's just forest. Like, people wandering around in the forest. That's it. This film is very contained, especially in comparison to the last one, where it felt like this massive, epic journey to try and reach Dr. Samson. Dr. Kelson, in the back half of the film. This one, it does not have that feeling at all. It feels like everything is kind of happening in such close quarters, and I really appreciate that. I like that they scale that down for the sake of scaling up the emotion and, honestly, the intimacy of this film. I really appreciate that. It allows us to introduce more characters This film definitely introduces more characters on the adventure than the first film does. And the reason it does that is because we're actually able to get invested in them, because the journey across the country is not what matters. It's what happens to these characters that matters, and their interactions that matter. Would I consider the 28? Yeah, absolutely. All of the films are, at the bare minimum, good. 28 Weeks is good. 28 Days Later is great. I think 28 Years Later is great. The Bone Temple is incredible. I would say in terms of quote-unquote zombie media, I know people get pissy about calling it zombie films, even though they're technically not zombies. But in terms of zombie media, 100%. Like, 28 Days Later is just such an effective horror movie. Like, it doesn't have any... It's not quite as, like... What's the word I'm looking for? It's not quite as metaphorical as the next two. It doesn't feel like 28 Days Later is a film that's trying to say too much. It more so feels like it's just trying to really instill a feeling of fear into the viewer. 28 Weeks Later is trying to be like more action-packed and manic and insane. And then you get 28 Years Later and The Bone Temple, which the first film explores death and different perspectives on death. And then the second film kind of explores religion. In a weird way, it feels like the second film, it really sets its sights on religion versus science, and kind of how the two go hand in hand, but also completely drastically change how these characters approach the infection and the world going to shit. It's a great piece of juxtaposition that, of course, we're building to these two stories combining, and when they finally do, it's explored fucking beautifully, honestly. Again, I'm going to use the word beautiful a lot to describe this film, which, for a film that's so intense, for a film that's so nasty and mean and gross, beautiful is not the word you would think to describe it, but genuinely, this film had me choking up at points. Because not only is it visually stunning, the way it captures all of these locations in a way that makes them feel so sprawling, yet also... What's the word I'm looking for? It makes them feel so sprawling and dangerous, but also so tangible, I don't know. I feel like I've not done a good job at describing that, but what I say is the most realistic scenario of a zombie outbreak, probably 28 Days Later, where it gets out, it gets quarantined, it dies out, people come back, and then, eventually it fucking breaks out again. Yeah. This film is beautiful visually, and also in terms of what the film has to say. Really? Shears don't break that faster? No. In terms of what the film has to say, and the interactions that happen throughout the film, particularly between Samson and Dr. Kelson, there were a couple scenes that had me like, wow, this is like some of the most like stunning filmmaking I've seen in quite some time. I was head over heels for all all of the Dr. Kelson and Samson stuff throughout this film. It was my favorite part, easily. Like, I love the Jimmy stuff. I love how disturbing and how nasty and how visceral that gets. But it's the character moments between Samson and Dr. Kelson and the way that evolves and changes throughout the film that really is like the core of the film, in my opinion. I also really like where the film leaves off. I'm not going to spoil the ending. Not yet, at least. We're not dipping into spoiler territory yet. But with what happens with Dr. Kelson and Samson and the very, very, very final moments of the film, we leave in some pretty interesting spots that I am fascinated to see where they go in the third film, because they've said this film has to do well for there to be a third film, and with how good the word of mouth has been, with how well 28 Years Later performed last year, I have absolute confidence that we will be getting a third film. There's no way we don't. I would be very sad if we didn't. I also wonder who would be taking creative control of that third film. Would they bring Nia DaCosta back? Would they bring Danny Boyle back? Would they get someone else entirely to do it? I don't know. We'll see. Ooh, bread. Nice. Yeah, I feel like I've talked about everything I can talk about without getting into spoilers. So, haven't seen any of the 28 movies? You are missing out. If you want to see 2 films that are effective, batshit action and horror, 28 Days and Weeks. If you want to see some films that have a hell of a lot to say about death, religion, and still are able to be effective horror movies, the 2 Years films are both fantastic in my opinion. I'll say my score for both of them. 28 Years Later, the first one, is an 8 out of 10. And the 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, is a 9 out of 10. Like a solid 9. Kind of tired of Zombie Slop at the moment. This is not Zombie Slop. Trust me, the Years films, not very zombie focused. The 28 Years Later is, for the first half. This film, the infected aren't the focus. There's like 3 infected attacks. The only real infected that matters in this film is Samson, and Samson is like a character in this film. Like, it's a zombie that goes through a full arc. He has emotional beats throughout this film. There is actual character progression. So this film, I would say, is more so about characters above anything. Disturbing, horrific moments, of course, and honestly, most of the horror comes from the Jimmy gang anyway. It comes from the actual human characters. This film has such an effective first scene as well. It really sets in place what the tone of this film is going to be in comparison to the last, where this kicks off immediately and is like, oh, this is kind of gross, this is kind of disturbing. I feel it kind of gives you like sick in the stomach feeling seeing that first scene, and then that just stays throughout the entire film. Every scene where the Jimmies are on screen, no matter if they're on their own, no matter whether they're with other people, every single scene with them you just get this sinking feeling in your stomach, like, oh my god, I hope something fucking terrible doesn't happen right now. And it keeps fucking with you like that. You know? I don't have any... Shit. No, whatever. I don't care. The film, like, consistently fucks with you like that. YouTube removed the recent videos filter? Wait, really? Wait. So, like, do you mean on channels or, like, when you search something? Alright, here, let me just search some shit. When you search in general, okay. We'll look up fucking, Arctic Monkeys AM reaction. No, recently uploaded is still there for me. Yeah, that photo was still there. On your premium account works, so it works for me. Anyway, I'm kind of feeling like I want to get into spoiler territory. Because I want to get into the weeds of this film. You know, I want to get into specifics. I want to get into everything that that really makes it work for me. You know? Bundle. Can hold a mix of stacked items. That's useful. Alright, we're gonna get into the weeds of the film, into spoiler territory now, so spoilers, spoiler warning is in the title. You have been warned. So, I'm going to kind of go through the film in terms of the order of events, and I'm going to try and stop whenever I get to a part that I feel like is like a very defining moment, or like a part that struck me in particular, which there are a good few throughout this. I've got a stack of redstone dust anymore. So, the film opens. You probably got the spoilers by the time you get to them. Yeah. Going into this film unspoiled will help. Definitely. So the film opens right where we left off in Years. Spike has run into the Jimmy gang, aka the Fingers. He has been brought by them to this abandoned swimming pool. It's like their church, essentially. And Spike is recruited into the Fingers. His life is spared by him. Getting into a fight to the death with one of the members. And obviously, Spike is a child. They are all, like, full-grown adults at this point, if not, like, young adults. Like, one of them has the guy he's fighting has a machete, and he has a tiny little knife. Guy throws his machete away, you know, just pulls Spike and grabs his arm and is, like, just kind of fucking with him, throwing his knife on the ground, being like, go on, pick it up. And then just, you know, pushing him around and shit. Like, playing with his food, essentially. Spike stabs him in the leg. The guy's like, you know, he stands back. He's like, ow, what the fuck? That hurt, you little bastard. I'm gonna murder you, pulls it out of his leg, and blood just starts fucking flying everywhere. Seriously, there is an ocean's worth of blood flying out of this guy's leg, and everyone's like, oh, look at that. He hit a major artery. And then this guy goes into full-blown panic mode. This part was, like, tough to watch. This guy going into full-blown panic mode, asking the people around him to help, and they're all just like, nope. Fuck you, you lost. And then he kind of just convulses on the ground and dies. And then Spike is now... What's the word? Indicted? I don't know what the correct word would be. Spike is now initiated as a part of the Jimmy gang. Hello? Whoa. What the fuck just happened? Yeah, that's how the film opens. Honestly, I might start heading back. I've been to a few villages. I've kind of uncovered some more shit over here. I've gone a long way from, oh, hello. Yeah, that's the opening of the film, and I think it is so effective. The fact that the film opens after us seeing Spike as, like, this innocent kid who just wants to do the right thing in the first film, being reduced to killing someone he doesn't know simply because he has to survive. It's like such a stark contrast from where we left him in the first film, and immediately sets into place that this is not going to be like the first film, essentially. Immediately, it's more disturbing, kicks you off as such an uncomfortable scene to watch, something that is so nasty, something that's so, like, legitimately incredibly disturbing. And again, like I said earlier, that tone carries throughout the whole thing, the entire thing. We then cut to Dr. Kelson, kind of doing his thing, as we typically see him. Well, as we saw him in the first film, working on the Bone Temple, finding the body of the infected mother that gave birth, and adding her to the Bone Temple, and having a run-in with Samson along the way. You know, hitting him with his blow dart. Kind of in that scene though, you kind of see Samson approaching slowly. Like, there are a couple times when he stops, like, thinks about attacking him, and then, like, kind of second guesses himself. And we don't initially know why, but that's revealed later on in the film, of course, and it's, again, pretty fucking genius what they do with that. So yeah, we see Samson approaching, goes in to attack. Of course, Dr. Kelson shoots him with the, like, the blow darts that he has, that has, I forget what they have in them, but something that just kind of calms the infected and puts them to sleep, essentially. You know, it lures them into this completely peaceful state, which we saw him do once in the previous film. And kind of after that, you know, we're shown Dr. Samson, fucking hell, I keep calling him Dr. Samson. Dr. Kelson, go back to his, back to the Bone Temple, back where he lives, going about just his daily activities, working on it, adding a new addition to it, like burning the body of the pregnant infected. Holy shit! No, I need to get out of here. No, I'm not dying out here. Burning the body of the pregnant infected that was in the last film. going down into his bunker, playing music, stuff like that. And then that is like really harshly juxtaposed with just this random traveler going out there, getting attacked by a group, attacked. Jesus Christ, I can't speak. Getting attacked by a group of infected. Samson pulls up, does his signature move from the last film where he fucking rips your head off your body, pulling your spine out of your body. And then it's revealed that these infected do actually eat people. In the last film, they were shown eating a deer, and that's kind of the implication as to how they survived for so long, is that they started eating animals. Because obviously in the 28 Days and Weeks film, the infected just starved because they were still human bodies, they couldn't live forever, and they just died of starvation because they didn't eat anything. So this film just essentially turns them into full-blown zombies, because in Days and Weeks, they just kind of like beat the shit out of you to kill you. And now they still do beat the shit out of you to kill you, but now they also do that with the goal of eating you. We see Samson eating the guy whose head he pulled off. He's fucking ripping his head open and eating his brain and shit. It's disgusting. And I like that harsh juxtaposition that we get, but also there is a very important thing that's kind of a little bit brushed over, honestly, in this scene. And we are actually shown what the infection does to people. We are shown what it is they see. We are shown that the person is still in there, but everyone they look at looks like a monster. You know, looks like... I think it's literally shown through, like, Samson seeing his own face on the guy. I couldn't tell because Samson has a big beard and long black hair, and the guy he's killing has a big beard and long black hair. So I couldn't quite tell. But essentially, they see infected faces on other people, and it doesn't actually make them angry. It scares them, triggers a fight or flight response, and it's just always fight, and they kill them. That's what the infection does. It doesn't completely take over your mind. It doesn't replace your mind, like Dr. Kelson says. It just essentially clouds your vision to make you think that everything non-infected is a threat. And I thought that was fascinating. Have I seen Night of the Living Dead? I haven't seen it, but I obviously know what happens in it. I need to get back quick. My wings are gonna break. This fucking chunk bullshit, dude. Yeah, we're shown what the infected see, and that was like... I wish... this is the only time we really see it. There's a scene later where we see... This was the scene I was going to assume was... fucking hell. This was the scene I assumed was going to be how the film opened, based on the trailer. It's, we see how Samson became infected, literally from the train from the first film. He was on that, and that's how he ended up there as an infected. But no, it's kind of shown later on to us how Samson became infected on that train. And it's kind of displayed there, but that's more so to show the big change that happens, which I'll get onto, of course, later. Yeah, after we see this scene with Samson, I forget what comes next, actually. I forget if we go back to the Jimmies or if we... What happens next? Hang on. My memory of the order of events is a little bit foggy. I think we cut straight to Dr. Kelson and Samson's next interaction after that. If I'm not mistaken, we see Samson coming out of the woods. You know, Dr. Kelson's holding his blow dart thing. And then anytime he, like, holds it up, Samson stops. and doesn't come towards him. And he's like, I know this is what you want. I know this is what you've come for. I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to assume that you won't kill me, and I'm going to trust you because I know that I have what you want, and I want this to be transactional. He has a full-on interaction with Samson where it's shown that Samson can understand him. There is still... Whether it's... I don't think it's a comprehension of language, but it's a comprehension of just tone, of human voice, that the infected still have. And that was like... That was pretty fucking cool. That was kind of like a jaw on the floor type moment for you. I was like, damn, I didn't expect them to like flesh him out this much. This is Gage's new house, by the way, right here, which shows that we're getting close by. Home of Gage. Are we back? I swear to God, if I come back and I'm dead. If I come back and I am dead. That's what having a dogshit PC will do. No, don't give me this chunk not loading shit. Right, I'm going back to Gage's house. I'm gonna sleep here. Here we go. As I was saying, yeah, I don't know if it's just because Samson's more intelligent because he is an alpha, but he can understand Dr. Kelson's tone of voice, and he can communicate what it is that he wants, and he shows restraint in not killing Dr. Kelson because he understands that they can find common ground. And man, it's so beautiful. It shows that they actually become friends. There is this great scene that kind of shows them across multiple days. Like, Samson keeps coming back to get hit with the blow dart more so that he can experience inner peace. Like, he like does stuff like letting Dr. Kelson know that he's there. He like walks up with a fucking ripped off deer head and he kind of shouts at him, and then Dr. Kelson just waves back, and then he comes over and he hits him with the blow dart, and they just sit and they don't talk. Dr. Kelson talks to him. Obviously, Samson doesn't talk back, but it's clear that they are actually interacting and that there's a full understanding between the two. And the way it's handled was so... There was something so special about just how raw and human it was that legitimately, like, kind of had me choking up during the film. I was like, oh my God, this is some of the best visual storytelling I have seen in a while. It was like S tier, absolute masterclass in just letting the emotions entirely speak for themselves and not, I don't know, not making anything feel forced or shoving anything in the viewer's face. It was all just so genuine and so real. And yeah, it struck all the right chords with me. Absolutely. That's kind of the big reason why the Samson and Dr. Kelson stuff is my favorite, because it just like hit emotional notes with me that I never assumed it would, and it just worked. 100% it worked. I would have been content with seeing like a full film that was just Dr. Kelson and Samson, and I don't know, maybe something that had a conflict between, like, I don't know, other infected not understanding what's going on and stuff like that. I would have been fully content with that. But yes, you see like this friendship and this understanding start to blossom. You see there are many interactions and stuff like that. You see how Samson kind of starts to not necessarily regain his humanity, but show that the infected have emotion and that they can communicate that emotion. They can be angry, they can be happy, they can be calm. And that's partially explored in the first film, but not to the degree that it is here. After that, we then kind of but I was about to say we are brought back to the Jimmy gang, but that's not what happens yet. We are shown this group of 3 survivors that go out. They're probably just out on like a hunting mission, trying to gather food. And, you know, they see this one infected. It has a broken leg. It's entirely on its own. They're hiding because they're like, if it sees us, it will scream, and all of the infected in the area will know we're here. But then this guy... he makes the stupid choice of trying to sneak up behind it. He hesitates. The other infected start coming, and we get this like great, very tense chase scene where it legitimately is a moment of like, wait, is this guy going to escape or not? Because our other 2 survivors kind of run off. They're way ahead. You know, they've made it out into the clear. And then this guy gets surrounded, and we see it's been shown before how quickly the infection spreads, but this guy, like an infected, just like spits at him, and like that he's gone. Like in seconds he's throwing up blood, and he is just, his mind is just entirely gone, and he is fully infested with the infection. Now, in the moment I was wondering why this scene was important. I was like, why are we getting this? Like, we've already been shown a random survivor getting attacked and him dying. Why is it that we are now seeing this? And then the scene continues, and we follow the other 2 survivors back to their home. You know, they're both arguing about it. They're like... oh, we just got our friend killed, and then there's a guy and a girl. The guy says, we got our friend killed. The girl says, no, he got himself killed. There's nothing we could have done about it. You know, we need to just get back into safety or whatnot. They get back to their farmhouse. And, you know, they knock on the door. Old man opens the door. And they're like, we got some, you know, devastating news. And then the guy goes, I don't care. We have company. And they're like, what? He goes, just stop talking, we have company. And then you just see one of the Jimmies come out from behind him, sticks a knife in front of one of their necks. And I think he just says something along the lines of like, you alright? Just nothing, I'm a liar. Yeah, they just say something along the lines of like, you alright? And then it cuts to them inside. Hard cuts to them inside, rest of the Jimmy gang stood there, eating their food, having a conversation where they're like telling jokes that none of these people in this farmhouse are laughing at. There's like 5 of them in there. There's the girl, the guy, and then 2 others. Sorry, there's 4 of them. And I'm actually going to turn my audio off for this bit because this XP farm is really loud. And we get this great tense scene of them... Is it working? Oh, it is. Okay, cool. We get this great tense scene of them inside, the Jimmys kind of talking to them, telling these jokes that they're not finding funny. We kind of get the first sign of like them still mentally being children, because obviously the film takes place 28 years after the infection started, and all of these people were children. Like the lead Jimmy Crystal, he was 8 when the infection first started, and obviously they didn't get the opportunity to develop and grow up properly outside of that, because all they had was each other. They were the only like group that they had, and they all kind of grew up together. So lead Jimmy kind of gets one of the other ones to do a fucking Teletubbies dance, and she's up there dancing, and no one's laughing, and he's like, damn, we got a tough crowd in here today. Which then leads into like one of the legitimate most like white knuckle scenes in the film, where the woman survivor goes, "What are you doing here?" And then he kind of goes, "Well, we've been invited. We're enjoying the hospitality. We were invited in, and we are enjoying the incredible hospitality of your friends." And then the old man kind of goes, "You were not invited in. You broke the gate." And then Jimmy kind of lashes out a little bit. He goes, "No, shut up. We were invited in. And we intend on staying and enjoying your hospitality." A great moment that kind of shows just how like maniacal and how much of a truly of an asshole our lead Jimmy is, where he's just like giving this entire bullshit story. He knows that everyone knows it's not true, but he still is just blabbering on about it anyway. And then she asks, "Are you going to leave?" And he kind of goes, "Yeah, of course we're going to leave." A moment where everything kind of, everyone in the room kind of like is confused but feels a bit relieved. And then he goes, "But of course, all of us are going to kill you first." Or, "Of course we're going to kill you," or something along those lines. The line is something along those lines. And then we see one of the people in the house walk over and grab a pot of... where's the creeper farm? I know there was a creeper farm somewhere. He grabs this pot of boiling water that he's been making, because he was like making him pasta or whatever. Throws the boiling water on the Jimmies. Gets some of them burnt. That's not good. Yeah, throws boiling water on him, gets some of them burnt. And then they just like freak the fuck out, start like throw it, like all of them get up, throw the people in the house on the ground, start like beating the shit out of them. And then they just come out, drag them out to like this little barn they've got outside that's entirely empty. And we don't initially see what happens. It cuts back to Dr. Kelson, I think, and we kind of get a little bit further into his development with Samson, kind of more interactions with them. Nothing that moves the plot forward too much, but I don't know, it's just kind of more interactions between those two. When we cut back to the Jimmies, we see these people are strung up, and Jimmy Crystal gives this big speech, kind of saying, what is it he says? I'm trying to remember specifically what it is he says. It's something like... Oh, let me down here. Yeah, this is it. He kind of gives a speech about who the Jimmies are, what they do. They serve Big Nick, which is Satan. And that they are there to give charity. That's the way he describes it. They are there to give charity, and at first we don't know what give charity means, and then he kind of sits there and goes, "Now I will decide what type of charity we will be giving today." And after some thinking, he goes, "The removal of the shirts," and then it kind of cuts back to the rest of the Jimmies, and you think, what are they going to be, just like giving a shirtless performance or something like that? And then no, you see them put their masks on. And then they remove the survivors' shirts. And then one of them pulls out a knife. I need to make sure this is actually working. Let me turn my audio on. It is working. Cool. Yeah. They pull the survivors' shirts off. One of them pulls out a knife and just starts digging the knife into their skin. And we don't know what happens at first. They're kind of like tormenting them, saying like, yeah, that hurts a bunch, doesn't it? Yeah, that feels fucking painful, doesn't it? Kind of taunting them. Oh, no, I've got to open this, I think. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they're kind of taunting them. You know, trying to like mess with them while they're, you know, digging their knives into them and shit. And we don't initially see what happens. We kind of see that oh yeah, I forgot to mention, that's something very important I forgot to mention. The woman survivor kind of gets away in that initial scene in the barn house. I don't know, she's able to slip away and hide inside this farmhouse that they all end up going into. And she's hiding like on this upper bit where they can't see her. And yeah. After that, we don't initially see what happens because, again, it cuts back to Dr. Kelson. And it's at this point that we get legitimately one of the most stunning scenes of the whole film. I saw this and my jaw was on the floor. I was like starting to choke up and shit. It's, you know, see Samson and Dr. Kelson there again. He's given him the poison dart. And they're kind of just having a typical interaction. It's nighttime. And Dr. Kelson says to Samson, he says, "Look, there's a specific chemical that I have in these things that means I only have enough supply for 2 weeks. I've searched everywhere in a 70-mile radius, and I'm not going to find any more of it." But I have a solution to that. I have this other thing that I have concocted. And if there's any possible way you can give me verbal consent, I can give you this. And then Samson kind of starts like huffing and puffing, seeming like he's trying to get words out but is unable to. And then as Dr. Kelson goes to put this needle in him, Samson speaks. Okay? While looking up at the moon, you know, he's in this state of tranquility because he's been given another dart. He's looking up at the moon and he literally just says, "Moon." And then you get this great little back and forth where Dr. Kelson goes, "Say that again." And then again, Samson says, "Moon." And that kind of happens a couple more times, and Dr. Kelson is like freaking the fuck out. You know, it's at that point that he's like, hang on a sec. Maybe, like, it's kind of a moment of realization of like, hang on. The human being is still in there. And he starts like going through this idea of like, it's possible I could like find a cure for this, you know? So that kind of starts to become his mission for a little bit, where we see him trying to work on a cure for Samson and whatnot. Yeah. After that, of course, cut back to the Jimmies. We see what they are doing to these people that they've strung up, and it's gross. It is shown that they have skinned them alive. The removal of the shirt means removing all of the skin on these people's torsos. I think there's 4 of them strung up. There's the old man, the kind of dad of the household, another woman, and the guy that was out with the survivor woman on the hunting mission that they were on. And 3 out of 4 of them are completely skinned alive, like still breathing, still like moving. Like we cut to a shot of a woman like opening her eyes and like looking around while she's like barely breathing. It's gross. Seriously, it is absolutely nasty. And I think that I feel like I might have made this up in my head, but I'm pretty sure there's like a shot of one of the Jimmies like backhanding one of them on like where the skin has been torn off and stuff. It's just like nasty shit. So detailed and graphic. There are like close-ups and everything. It's just legit. I could barely look at it. And we get this great scene where like Spike has kind of gone outside. He threw up. He could not stomach it. He was asking like, please, I don't want to do this anymore. I physically cannot do this. And this other girl who he kind of befriends, I forget. Well, she just goes obviously by Jimmy in the film. I forget if they reveal her other name. But so just talk a bunch of snowballs. I don't know. We kind of get this scene of Spike going outside. They kind of chill out there while all of the stuff is going on indoors. And the one guy who hasn't been skinned alive, the leader, he calls himself Lord Master Jimmy, I'm pretty sure. The Lord Master Jimmy kind of goes up to him and says, look, I've kept you alive for one reason. You have multiple choices. You can either A, fight one of the Jimmies to become a part of, one of the fingers. The same thing Spike did, the fight to the death. If you win, you obviously join. If not, if you lose, you will get charity, part of him being skinned alive. And, they untie him. He picks who he wants to fight, and it's that same girl who did the Tinky Winky dance. He says he wants to fight her. We expect that he's going to say Spike, but he ends up fighting her instead. And she is just kicking his ass. She is, like, stabbing him in the stomach. She is, like, slicing him, pushing him around. He gets one, like, solid punch on her, but, after that, she is just, like, fucking him up. She has him eventually on the ground. The Lord Master Jimmy announces, like, you've lost. You may now choose. He says to the Jimmy that's just fought him, he says to her, you may now choose what form of charity you give to him. And she says, the removal of the trousers. And he says, he kind of like pretends to talk to Big Nick, and he says, Big Nick says that is absolutely perfect. And, she kind of starts getting all freaky with him. It feels like she's about to like kiss him or something. And then she goes, you picked me because I was weak. And you thought you'd be able to easily beat me. and it's going to feel so amazing when I cut all of the skin off of your legs. And then out of nowhere, we just see her stop. We see blood start pouring out of her mouth. She starts, like, saying, like, a bunch of random shit. Well, I forget what it is she starts saying. Something along the lines of, like, stuff from when she was a kid, where she says, like, the cat's escaped. Something's burning. Something like that. The one line I remember is, like, the cat's escaped or something like that. And then it's shown that the woman on top of the balcony, where none of the other Jimmies could see her, threw down this big metal hook that didn't fully go into her head, but is kind of just, like, hanging out the back of her head, if that makes sense. It's a piece of gross imagery. It doesn't kill her, like, at all. It just clearly causes brain damage, and she's kind of just convulsing on the floor, saying a bunch of nonsense. And then they obviously notice the woman up on the balcony, where she threw the thing. They start, like, getting out these, I don't know what you'd call them, like these arrow slingshots. It's like mini bows, essentially. They're slingshots, but they shoot arrows. And they're, like, firing that at her. They're trying to climb up to get to her and shit like that. And the guy who lost the fight, still alive, crawls over to the propane tank or something like that, releases it, because there's, like torches hung up on the walls, and obviously it's pushing out all of this this gas that is highly flammable. And he lights one of them on fire. One of the Jimmies, he lights them on fire, rolls the tank over, so it's now, like, fucking burning everyone. Really sad shot where, like, you can see it in the background that, like, some of the skinned alive people are caught on fire as well. Kind of a nasty shot, but one that I feel like was necessary to throw in there. And yeah, everything kind of goes tits up. The woman up at the top escapes. She climbs out this, or she kicks a hole in the roof of the barn that they're in, rolls down the side, and you know, tries to get away. All of the Jimmies have kind of piled outside at this point because, you know, the fucking fire's going on in there. You know, some of them are really badly burnt and stuff like that. One of them's, like, burned all the way down his back. The building is starting to collapse and stuff like that. The Jimmy on the inside gets crushed by burning logs falling on top of her. And then, out of, like, the corner of his eye, Lordmaster Jimmy sees the woman escaping, and he orders Spike to go get her. You know, he's saying, go, he says, like, lad, go kill that woman now, or something like that. No, bring her back to me alive, he says specifically, actually. Not kill her. He says, bring her back to me, I want her alive. So he goes, chases her down, is about to shoot her with his bow, but he doesn't. He, just says to her, let me come with you. I want to get out of this place. Please. I'm not like them. Let me come with you. He puts his bow down to his side, goes over, reaches out to shake her hand, and she just punches him in the stomach, kicks him down to the ground, and escapes out the fence, unlocks the fence that they used to get in after getting chased by the infected, and just runs off into the woods into the night. And obviously Spike has to go back, report back that he lost the girl that he was supposed to you know, knock out and bring back. Makes up a bullshit excuse to Lordmaster Jimmy. He sees right through it immediately. He says to him, she fought back and I had to kill her, and that's why she's not been brought back alive. Then Grandmaster Jimmy goes, oh, so where's the body? And then Spike goes, I don't know. She ran off into the darkness and died in the forest. And then he goes, in a particularly difficult spot to find, probably, yeah? And he goes, yeah. trying to bullshit his way out of getting punished. And then Grandmaster Jimmy goes, well, you could have at least like peeled off her face and given it to me, like like a person with a bit of fucking initiative, I think he says. And then the rest of the group, one of the group members who was friends with the guy who Spike killed at the very beginning of the film in the fight. He goes, why don't we ask Big Nick about what the kid's fate should be? You should like pray to him and see what he says. The lad's fate should be. And then the whole rest of the group are sat there agreeing. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but when they initially get to the farmhouse and they're dragging all of the people out to the barn outside, he sends off the girl that Spike befriends. I forget what he sends her off to do, but she is kind of walking away, pouting, looking for something because she isn't able to get in and get involved on all the torture. And she comes across Dr. Kelson chilling with Samson. She sees it, and she thinks that he is Big Nick because he's covered his skin in iodine and it's all orange. He stood there, like literally dancing with an infected, like he's getting Samson to stand up and dance along to music that he has playing out of his record player and stuff like that. So she thinks he is the devil. He sees this guy with orange skin dancing with a demon, an infected, and is like, oh my god, that's Big Nick. That's the devil right there. So now she's, we're saying that Spike should be judged by Big Nick on whether he should live or die or what his punishment should be. And she goes, why don't we go ask Big Nick himself? I saw him myself. And then Lord Master Jimmy is obviously like, no, Big Nick doesn't just fucking appear in front of you. And she goes, he didn't appear. He was off in the distance in a kingdom of bones. And he was there in front of me. I saw him with my own 2 eyes, and I can take you to him. So, Spike is spared for now. They go off on this big trip throughout the night to try and find Dr. Kelson, or who they think is Big Nick. And they get there. They see him, not with Samson, but he's calling out to him, trying to find him so that he can interact with him a bit more. And, they kind of go, is that really him? Is that really Big Nick? And then Lord Master Jimmy goes, is that him? Is that Big Nick? Are you asking me if that's him? And then after a good, minute or so, but he sat there repeating the question over and over again for a good, 30 seconds to a minute. And then finally he just goes, yeah, it is, 100%. And then he makes up this bullshit. This is where the mask starts to slip on his cult-like behavior. He goes, I didn't expect to see him in one of his bone kingdoms. He has a couple of these scattered about in the highlands and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting him to show up in one of these. And it's at that point that the Jimmy that Spike befriends kind of clocks on, and she's like, hang on a minute. I think that this guy's talking shit. Because he would have mentioned that Big Nick had bone kingdoms, as they call it, scattered around the country. Why is he bullshitting us like that? And she starts to get the question of maybe he isn't Big Nick's favorite son. Maybe he isn't the chosen one and stuff like that. She still believes that Dr. Kelson is Big Nick and stuff like that, but she is just under the impression that Lord Master Jimmy is bullshitting them and just trying to take all the power when he isn't actually the Jesus of this religion, which is important later. we kind of get this scene where he says, I'm gonna go down and talk to him. They're all like, can we come? And he's like, no, absolutely not. You guys need to stay here. I'm gonna talk to him first because we need to be certain that he actually wants visitors right now, because you don't want to see him on a bad day when he doesn't want you there. So he goes down while Dr. Kelson is kind of just sat there waiting for Samson to show up. And we get this great scene where they introduce themselves to each other. Jimmy pulls up. He just hits him with a hello, how are you? And then Dr. Kelson responds with a very, very worried hello. Obviously, he doesn't see people that often, especially, you know, being where he is. And he sees this guy dressed up like Jimmy Savile, and he is understandably a little bit like, what the fuck? Oh, I see. Graham. I never explored Crocky's house before, by the way. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. He sees this guy dressed up as Jimmy Savile, and then he's obviously a little bit frightened, which that's an emotion that we never get out of Dr. Kelson until that point, is fear. And it's brought up later that this is the first time we see him afraid. He's never afraid of the infected. He's not afraid of Samson, anything like that. This is the first time we see him afraid. And they sit down, they have a conversation. Jimmy asks him, are you Big Nick? And Dr. Kelson's like, no, my name's Ian Kelson, Dr. Ian Kelson. And then, you know, Jimmy isn't buying it at first. He's like, are you absolutely certain you're not Big Nick? He's like, yep, I'm 100% positive I am not this Big Nick character that you're looking for. And then Jimmy kind of let slip. He was like, part of me is honestly relieved. What the fuck is that? Oh, is this is all of the blocks. Crocky's trying to collect every single block in the game. He's like, part of me is a little relieved that you aren't Big Nick. I was worried that I was going to have to see my father. Now, at the beginning of the first film, when the attack happens and we see young Jimmy, the big thing that happens is he hides out in this church after escaping his house. His dad's there, and his dad is like this religious nut priest. He is like, this is the day of reckoning. God has sent down this infection to cleanse us. And then while Jimmy hides in like this grate under the ground, all of the infected swarm in, infect his dad, and then his dad kind of becomes like, he describes him as like the leader of the infected, like leading the charge, going on a rampage throughout the rest of his town. And then obviously in this scenario, Dr. Kelson is like, what did you mean by that when you said you were scared you were going to see your father? Is your father Big Nick? And then Jimmy is like, yes, my father is in fact Big Nick. My father is the devil. He starts talking about how he doesn't get to see him much, but he hears him in his head constantly, giving him guidance. And because his father was the last human voice he heard, I don't know what the fuck this is. His father's voice was the last human voice he heard before everything was completely taken over by the infection. He kind of grew this strange attachment to it, obviously still being a child, and now thinks that because his father was leading the charge of those infected when he got infected, that he is actually the devil, and that he needs to worship him. Which is just such an interesting dynamic. The fact that he's being literally guided by a voice in his head that he genuinely hears, that he genuinely believes is his father. I don't know, it's just shit like that's so cool. The fact that his entire motivation is just that trauma. Him still being a child on the inside, you know, believing that his father is Satan. And that leading him to follow every single thing that his mind tells him, doing every single thing, no matter how heinous, no matter how disgusting, and forming a religious cult based on it. It's so fucking cool. It's so cool. Anyway, we get that interaction, and then he says, what is it he says? He doesn't say I'm in a bit of a jam. I'm in a bit of a... I forget what the specific word he uses. It's not like... It's along the lines of like, I'm in a pickle or something like that, but he uses a very specific word. I forget what it was. And I like breaking into houses. I'm exploring. This place has been upgraded a lot, and I've not fully explored it yet. Leave me alone. I've already been in here. Wait, did I go up here? Yeah, I did. Yeah, he says, I'm in a bit of a jam, something along those lines. And he's like, I've just told my group that you are Big Nick, which obviously you are not. And then he says, you're in a bit of a jam too. And then Dr. Kelson goes, why is that? Why would I be in a jam? And he goes, well, because you are going to pretend to be Big Nick. And if you can't give me what it is I want when my group come over, I'm going to feed you your intestines until you can't breathe. But then he goes, I like you, you know. There's not many people I like, but you are one of the exceptions. Also, he says there's not anybody I've ever liked before, and you are the only exception. That's what he says. So then Dr. Kelson, sorry, is kind of sat there. He kind of thanks him, trying to get in his good books. And then Jimmy goes, I feel like we have reached an agreement and we can greatly benefit each other here. Wouldn't you agree? And Kelson, you know, just wanting to keep his life, is like, yes, I completely agree. So Jimmy goes back, informs them all of what happened. He goes, like, this... Yeah, we're going to go. All of us together are going to see him tomorrow. He goes, you must not directly address him. You must wear your masks in his presence. You know, you can only talk to him through me. And he said he will give us the guidance we need to continue our crusade or whatnot. And then... Is this a happy ghast or a fucking normal ghast? It's a happy ghast, okay. Yeah, after that, it shows them all going to sleep, which they were going to sleep in the open in the woods, in woods that are densely populated with infected, which, you know, seemed like a bit of an odd choice. Yeah, it shows them going to sleep, Spike waking up before everyone else and trying to make his escape. You know, he sees an opening, everyone else is still sleeping, and he is like, fuck it, now I'm just going to try and make my escape. He gets out of there, but one of them wakes up just as he's running off, and it's the one that hates him, that wants him dead, because the guy at the start of the film that he killed was his friend. So Spike, he's like running off, you know, getting scared in the woods because he knows it's densely populated with infected. An infected comes over, attacks him, and this Jimmy that hates him comes, kills that infected, and essentially is fully ready to kill him. But then the other Jimmy, the girl Jimmy, that Spike has kind of formed a friendship with, comes in legit as he's about to fucking press his knife into Spike, pushes him off, starts beating the shit out of him, and then eventually just kills him. Then she looks at Spike, says, "What the fuck are you doing running away? I know you don't like it, but this is all we can do for now. You know, come back." They go back. Tell Lord Master Jimmy that, you know, this guy started fighting them. He tried running away. He started fighting them, and they had no choice but to kill him. And Grandmaster Jimmy, Lord Master Jimmy, fucking hell, Lord Master Jimmy isn't buying a fucking second of it. He's like, "That is not the truth. You're lying to me. I don't know why you would lie to me, but I know you're lying to me." And then she's like, "No, it's the truth, I swear." And then it looks like he's about to go in to attack and kill both of them. But then he's like, "You know what? No. We will get Big Nick to decide what really happened tomorrow. We will learn all from him." Because obviously he thinks he can get Kelson to say whatever he wants because he's given him that threat. And essentially is just going under the belief that now he will say whatever I want, do whatever I want. You know, simply because I hold that power over him. So then, we kind of cut to Dr. Kelson during the day, seeing Samson one last time. Oh no, sorry. No, this happened at night time that he sees Samson one last time, before the Jimmies come over. And, you know, he says, "I wanted to do this procedure later. I wanted to do it gradually, but I'm not sure if I'm going to live until tomorrow, so I'm going to just do it now." He explains what the infection is. He says that it's a physical thing that mutates cells. It's like a reactionary thing that happens, but it's also a mental thing. It causes the patient to see things that are not there, that causes them to react in these massive violent outbursts. And he says that is essentially just psychosis. I'm going to give you these pills that will cure your psychosis. And, you know, we don't see anything after that. Legit, we cut back to the Jimmies, we cut back to Kelson, and he sees that Samson is gone. He tries calling for him to see what happened, but we just kind of see Samson walking away off into the woods. What the fuck is that? We see Samson walking away into the woods and kind of getting these flash visions of what had happened to him. Like, he gets these visions of himself looking out the window of a train, these loud train noises that he's reacting to. We kind of see his group of infected following him around because he is an alpha. And eventually, we hear one of the other infected make a noise, and he gets scared by it. He kind of has this big reaction, gets scared, runs over to the train, sits down in the exact seat he was sat at when he got infected, and we get this flashback scene to like what was happening when, you know, he eventually got infected. And it's this weird, trippy scene. If anyone's watched Severance, when someone does the... there's a thing in Severance called reintegration, where you kind of combine the two sides of your mind, and one version of you is kind of seeing what's happening to the other version of you in real time, and stuff like that. It feels like the two worlds are literally colliding in the moment. Time isn't making sense. It's similar to that, where it's like his infected mind is existing in the past, and then we see his human mind exist in the present, where this woman is asking for his ticket. He's seeing these infected faces. It cuts to the present, and infected Samson says in just a normal human voice, "No, I don't have my ticket." And he's surrounded by his group of infected, and they hear him speak, a full sentence in normal English, and they attack. They try to reinfect him. They're spitting on him, and it isn't working because he is still infected. He still has it in him, but has now had the fog of his mind cleared. His eyes have gone normal. This was a thing that I thought was happening throughout the film as like he was interacting with Dr. Kelson more and more. I don't know if it was actually happening though. It looked like his eyes were getting less and less like bloodshot and foggy throughout the film, and now at this point he has just fully normal human eyes. And these infected start jumping him, they're biting at him, trying to infect him, trying to kill him, and he still has like the alpha superhuman strength. He's like grabbing them, throwing them around, putting them through windows, fucking ripping their heads off, ripping their limbs off and shit like that while they're trying to attack him. And we don't see how that scene ends. You know, it's kind of like this moment of like, oh, does he kill them all and survive, or does he die? And it's obviously he's not going to die, because why would they kill off Samson like that? That would be such a stupid fucking move. Cut back to the scene where the Jimmies all arrive at the Bone Temple. They all pull up, put their masks on, and we get this great shot of Dr. Kelson in his bunker. We've seen him playing different records. He was listening to... Who was he listening to? He put on Kid A by Radiohead at one point and was listening to that while preparing some stuff for Samson. He was listening to like some other like classic 80s rock album. And we see him pull out Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. What the fuck happened here? Gage is going to be pissed at somebody. Gage is going to be pissed at somebody. Anyway. Starts playing the Number of the Beast. Picks out the Number of the Beast. We see him kind of like... Sorry, this is before the fucking... I'm getting my order of events mixed up. This is before the Jimmies arrive. We see him moving this massive cross that he makes out of wood, places it upside down so that they believe he's actually the devil. You know, he's moving these speakers around so that like, you know, they're hidden amongst the bones, but everyone can kind of hear the music that he's going to play. And then they show up. He starts playing Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. And we get a full dance sequence of him in demon makeup, grayed out face, blacked out eyes. Like he's put some like fucking, I don't know what it is around his eye to make his eyes look completely black. And he gives this full dance performance, singing along to the music. We've seen him, he dances a lot throughout the film. He dances with Samson to the music he plays. He's, oh shit. You know, he, there's a moment where he is, like, happy that his experiments are working on Samson, and he kind of hits a little fucking boogie on the spot there. Like, he dances a lot throughout the film, but then he gives, like, a full interpretive dance performance along to Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. And this genuinely convinces the Jimmies that he is Satan, because obviously it's talking about the number of the devil, talking about 666 and shit like that. And this guy who looks legitimately like Satan with the makeup he's put on himself starts talking to them about following his commandments. He tells all of the Jimmies to kneel, and then he goes, "Not you, my child. You, Jimmy, my chosen one. You are the leader of the fingers, and you represent the fingers on my right hand," or whatever, because at this point 2 of them have died. There's now no longer 7 of them. There's 5 of them. And he says, your goal is to continue your journey, continue your quest of I think he legit just says continuing your unholy mission. I'm pretty sure he says, not knowing what it is that the Jimmies have been doing because he didn't get told about it. And then you get this moment where Lord Master Jimmy looks at him and says, by our quest you mean going around murdering everyone across the country who doesn't align with what we say, skinning them alive, torturing them, making them feel unbearable pain for not believing the same as us, or something along those lines. Recruiting so that we have five fingers of a knuckle for not just one knuckle, but eventually 5, 10, 100, 1,000, so that no other group in the entire country will be able to stand in our way. And then Dr. Sampson is hearing all of that, being like, what the fuck? I didn't know that that's what you guys were doing. Dr. Kelson. Why do they have to both end in son? Because I keep calling him Dr. Sampson instead of Dr. Kelson. Dr. Kelson stands there reluctantly and is like, yes, you must continue on that quest of destruction and torture for those who are non-believers. And then in the corner of his eye, he notices Spike. Of course, him and Spike interacted in the first film when Spike and his mother went to see Dr. Kelson. And he notices it's Spike. He goes over, pulls off his mask, and says, and he's all like, oh my god, Spike, it's you. I can't believe you're here. And then, as the Jimmies are all about to leave, he goes, hang on, I have one more commandment for you. And then Lord Master Jimmy's like, no, you don't. They must all serve me. Kill everyone who stands in our way. And deliver you sacrifices and whatnot. You've said all the commandments you need to say. And then he goes, no, I have one more. As you all know, Jimmy is my only son. Just like Jesus is to God, where Jesus is God's only son. Now, God required the sacrifice of his own son to teach the people. He had him crucified. Well, Jesus was crucified to teach the people. And my commandment is that my only son, the only son of Satan, should be forced, well, not should be forced, but should do the same as an example for the people of this world and of this country to follow. And then, obviously, Lord Master Jimmy, seeing that Samson is now no longer on his side because he's noticed Spike, is like, oh, I need to be crucified, do I? And then he kind of says to his group, well, what if I told you guys that's not even actually Big Nick? That's just some random doctor who has been fooling us the entire time. And then you kind of get this moment where the group have been shown as incredibly unintelligent throughout this. And this is a moment where that kind of gets highlighted, where they're like, I don't know what to believe right now. You lied to us about this being Big Nick. But also, it isn't Big Nick, so we don't know whether we should follow his orders or not, because you're a traitor, but this also isn't him. I have not seen Pineapple's Base. Whereabouts is that? So the group kind of gets in this moral crossroads where they don't really know what to believe or what to do. Then Jimmy convinces most of them, except the girl that Spike's befriended, who obviously didn't believe him didn't believe Jimmy in the first place about, being the son of Big Nick. They all go in to attack. And this other Jimmy, the girl that is now friends with Spike, just dispatches the other two easily. They come up to attack. she stabs one of them in the neck, then turns to the other one and says, "Please don't do this. I don't want to kill you too." And he comes over anyway. Brokenhearted, she kills him there on the spot. This is a house that I built, by the way. This was a build I did. This was when I was doing my re-listen to Fear of Music for the video. Anyway, off topic. Yeah, she dispatches of those two, but then Lord Master Jimmy gets a fucking stab in on Dr. Kelson. He gets him right in the stomach, and obviously in a primitive post-apocalyptic Britain, they don't have the things to treat that. Fucking dog shit PC. Yeah, Kelson is there on the floor, aware of the fact that he's about to die. And kind of during all of that chaos... Oh, shit. During all of that chaos, Spike is the one that gets a stab in on Lord Master Jimmy Crystal that has him on the floor in pain. Not dead, but just in pain. Very important to note that he does not die there. So they've incapacitated him. They go over to Dr. Samson. He has like a heart-to-heart moment with Spike. Spike's like, "Why did you do that? We were just about to leave. You could have survived." And he was like, "Well, when I saw it was you under there, I knew that I had to do something because you don't deserve all of this suffering, and you deserve some peace and for it all to end." So then, they acknowledge the fact that he's about to die. They say their goodbyes to him. They leave off into the woods at night, off to go and find someplace else to live, or to set up base somewhere that they hope is peaceful. And yeah, Dr. Samson is just kind of left there with Jimmy, who kind of calls out to him. No, hang on, no. Before they leave, okay. Fuck me, dude. Bedrock Minecraft, everyone. No, before the two leave, they hang Jimmy on the upside down cross. Beautiful piece of symmetry. Oh, sorry, beautiful imagery. Where he is obviously a Satanist, a sadist, a sick, twisted motherfucker, and then he is literally, he calls himself Satan. One of the Jimmies, I forgot about this. One of the Jimmies says, if he's not Big Nick, if he's not Satan, then who is? And then he turns to them and goes, I am. I'm the one they should be scared of. And then the fact that he gets his comeuppance by being hung upside down on that upside down cross. Beautiful. And during this big skirmish, while the Number of the Beast was playing, I forgot to bring this up. During that section, the Number of the Beast, as that song ends, we're shown Samson rising out of the train, covered in blood, fully naked again. When he kind of starts to become human, he puts a robe on himself. But now that he is fully turned back to human, they make the choice to make him fully naked again. And I think that is such a fascinating way of symbolizing that, like, he is now no longer clouded. He is fully himself once more, and is no longer naked in a way that is primal or in a way that feels animalistic. It's now naked in a way that feels like he has regained his humanity, rises out of the train, covered in blood, and just fucking beelines it towards the Bone Temple, right? He is hauling ass over there. Makes it just after Spike and the girl leave. They run off into the woods. We get this great shot of Jimmy hung upside down on the cross, and we see this is Riley's house. Okay. This is pretty fucking cool. Wow. This is fucking sick. I've never seen this before. Hang on a sec. I need to talk to this guy. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't even let me say shit when it's censored. Wow. Oh, so different. The new films are symbolic and metaphorical, and they're very much think pieces. They kind of feel almost to the point of elevated horror. The first two films are just straight run and gun, high octane, incredibly intense zombie films. They're better than most zombie films. The tensity is so tangible. The writing is fucking fantastic. The characters are all great. The twists and turns throughout the first two films. The first film is better than the second one, but they're still great. But they're more straightforward, just like intense horror films, if that makes sense. The both of the Years films are heady, like think pieces that have a lot to say. You know. Actually, I'm not gonna do that. That's a stupid move. I'll take the minecart. Yeah, I would still recommend them. They're still fantastic, both of them. I enjoyed both of the first two. Heard it was filmed on an old video camera. Is it still like that? No, the new films are shot on iPhones with special lenses to make them look better. But the two new films are shot with iPhones. They look visually like standard movies, though. Anyway, as I was saying, so we get this scene. Jimmy's hung upside down on the cross, calling out to Dr. Sampson. You know, so Dr. Kelson, for fuck's sake. Did I take a copper golem? I did not. I did not. Not just going on the rail track right now. It's incomplete, for fuck's sake. Anyway. Yeah, final scene. Jimmy's hung upside down on the cross. Calling out to Dr. Sampson, asking him to fucking, like, save him or whatever. And then Samson comes over. This fully human Samson at this point. And Harley... I watched this with Hannah and Harley. Harley found this really silly, but I loved this. He sees Samson and is so deluded and out of it at this point that he sees devil horns on him. And of course, the new fully human Samson re-emerges at the end of The Number of the Beast. So, we see Samson, he looks infected again, and from Jimmy's perspective, he's got fucking massive devil horns on him. And he goes, ignores Jimmy at first, you know, screaming out at him. And he just picks up Samson. He talks to him one last time, his first proper conversation with him where they are just speaking to one another as humans. Lays him down to rest, and then Samson dies. You get this great shot that pulls out as Samson dies from his face all the way up into the sky, kind of mirroring the religion versus science symbology, kind of showing that maybe in those last moments he was thinking about going to heaven, going to hell, thinking about the possibility of being greeted by a god after he dies or something like that. Great way to juxtapose a conversation that him and Jimmy had earlier in the film where he says, I am an atheist, you are a Satanist. We're different sides of the same coin, essentially. He doesn't say this different sides of the same coin out loud out loud, sorry. But that's kind of what's implied. Yeah, great shot after Dr. Kelson dies of just this incredible aerial shot that pulls all the way up into the sky, and you can see like the full bone temple, the ring of fire that he set during his performance and everything. Fantastic shot. And then we cut back down to Jimmy on the upside down cross. He's crying out. He's shouting into the sky, Father, why have you forsaken me? Why have you done this to me? I was meant to be your only son. Why have you brought all of this pain onto me? Why have you forsaken? Like repeating that over and over again until everything kind of goes quiet. It's a POV shot of him. Obviously, he's upside down, so he's looking down up into the sky. And then we get the biggest jump scare of the film. There's a handful of jump scares, but it lingers on that shot for like a good 20 seconds. And you know it's going to happen. You know there's going to be the jump scare of fucking Samson appearing. And then after about 20, maybe even 30 seconds of just the night sky, Samson fucking pulls up out of nowhere, jump scare. Hard cut to black. And then here's the big thing. The ending of this film is kind of fucking wild. The very final scene that we cut to just after this. Now, each and every one of these films tend to disconnect themselves from each other. 28 days later and 28 weeks later, entirely different stories, different characters taking place, you know, in continuity with one another. Different stories, different characters, not a single character overlapping. 28 weeks and 28 years later, same thing. Not a single character overlapping. 28 years later and 28 and Bone Temple obviously have overlapping characters because they are direct sequel. Like one is a direct sequel to the next. The final scene of this film, we get this like shot of the ocean pulling up to this nice mountain range. Next to the ocean. It cuts into this house of this girl just sitting there doing homework, you know. She sat there, you know, writing stuff down. And then, you know, we hear her shout out to her dad, you know, saying something about like the history homework she's doing. And we hear him respond. And immediately, it is unmistakably the voice of Cillian Murphy. They, at the end of this film, bring back a character from the first movie. Cillian Murphy's character, I think his name's Jim. I forget. It's been a while. From the first film. He just struts in, stands there, helps her with her homework. He starts giving her advice, and he's like, you know, I'm just saying, maybe you would get a higher score on the test if you incorporated this into your answer. And she's like, but aren't you the one who's going to be running the test or sitting the test or whatever? And he was like, well, yeah, I am, but I'm just, you know, telling you that might happen. So you think that they are like in Europe, in America, somewhere that hasn't been affected by the quarantine. And then you hear the little girl go, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Did I hear what?" And she goes, "Listen. There's a beat. You don't hear any sound. And then eventually you hear the sound of someone screaming off in the distance." And you're like, "Wait, hang on a minute. Aren't they like out of the UK because they're talking about doing a school test?" Cillian Murphy says to his daughter, he's like, "You know what to do, you know the protocol." They each grab a gun, they go out with their binoculars, and in the distance, he's looking in through his binoculars, and they see Spike and the Jimmy girl both running from a horde of infected, and then the daughter says, "What do we do? Do we help him?" And then Cillian Murphy says, "Yeah, of course we do." Fucking grabs his gun, and they start fucking hauling ass down that mountain. And that's where the film ends. So, we have two massive setups for the conclusion to not only this trilogy, but I imagine the 28 franchise on the whole. We have the return of Cillian Murphy's character from the first film. And we have proof that the infection can be cured. The infected don't need to die out, because they can't now, because now they've learned to eat so that they can sustain themselves. They eat and drink. So we have these two things that are going to converge. And I really hope that Samson is like a big, big character in the next film. His real name isn't Samson, by the way. That's just something that that's just what Dr. Curson named him. Curson? Is it Dr. Curson? I've mixed up the names Samson and Curson so many times that I'm forgetting if Curson is actually the thing I'm meant to be saying. I don't know. I think it is Curson. Gee, my mind is just like going blank. It's like when you say a word so much that it doesn't sound real anymore. That's what I'm experiencing right now. Curson is just the name. Samson is just the name that Curson gave him. It's not his actual name. We don't know what his actual name is at all just yet. But yeah. I'm hoping that he is brought back to kind of spread the word of how... Is it about to turn into Planet of the Zombies? No. If that's like a reference to something that happens in the film that I'm guessing is titled Planet of the Zombies, I don't know, because I've not seen it. But if you mean if it's literally going to be like the whole planet's going to be infected, no, it's been quarantined to only the UK. The infection does not exist anywhere else. Like the rest of the world... Ooh. Health on that is not looking great. That's an excellent point. Start heading back. So I can heal it up a bit. Yeah, the rest of the world is just functioning normally. They explore that a little bit in 28 Years Later. They have a very interesting way of showing that the rest of the world just progressed. Oh, Planet of the Apes with the zombies evolving. I see. I don't know. But yeah. I'm so excited for the third film. I'm so fucking excited. Genuinely, this film was gorgeous. It's a stunning reflection of using religion to cope, of getting lost in science to cope with immense change in the world. It's a even more of a coming-of-age film for Spike, even though that he's kind of reserved to be a side character in this one. Spike was the lead of the first film. You know, the 2 adventures he goes on with his dad and then his mum. And then in this film, he is completely on the sidelines. He is not really a focus for the majority of this film at all. Hello? Oh my god, fucking god. The lag. But yeah, it seems like the next film is going to be centered around him and Cillian Murphy, and I'm hoping they bring back his dad as well, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, in the next film, because they completely ignore that in this film. They ignore the little island that Spike lives on. They ignore Spike's dad. And I'm hoping that that is an important part of the next film. I'm hoping that that's brought up. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm also very impressed by these 2 films' ability to switch their leads and have it feel natural. Like, I was fine with Spike being on the sidelines in this film because Dr. Kelson and Lord Master Jimmy are both such compelling characters. Incredible performances from Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell, of course, that kind of spearhead those. But I think it's the way they juggle the tones. It's the way that they play with your emotions with these characters, where sometimes Dr. Kelson seems a little bit crazy, but also he is just so kind-hearted. He's so hell-bent on having a relationship and a friendship with Samson and saving him, essentially, and trying to figure out how to cure the infection on the whole. Like, he just, at the end of the day, he just wants to be friends with Samson. That's legit what he describes at multiple points in the film, is like, he is glad to have finally found a true friendship. And it just happens to be with an infected. I think that this 3rd film is going to be it. I think that the creatives are well aware that they can't really milk this. They've set in stone the pieces for a true conclusion, bringing back Cillian Murphy from the first film, setting up that the infection can be cured. I think, I truly believe that 28 Years Later Part 3 will be it. I do believe it'll be it. Someone in the far future definitely will. I don't know, maybe. It would be kind of shitty. I hope they don't. But who knows? We'll see. There we go, got all my shit mended. Pick up the rest of this XP. Oh god damn it, there's some fucking pigs alive in there. Hang on. Gotta turn audio on. God, there's so many of them. But yeah, as I was saying, they've set Where the fuck? Where'd the trident go? Did I pick it? Oh, did it? Oh, I might have dropped it into the dispenser. Who the fuck is Spencer? So the trident has now been burnt. Please tell me Rhoda has a spare trident. Please. Or anyone. I'm gonna say that in the Discord. No, I'm gonna own up to it in the Discord now. Whenever I do the next Beatles recording stream, is it possible for me to do a Help, Rubber Soul, and Revolver in the same stream? Did I not do Help? I feel like I did Help. Did I not? No, Help's the 5th album. I don't know why I got it in my head that I already did Help. I didn't. Yeah, you're right, I didn't. My bad. Whoopsies. Well, there we go. That's my 28 years later The Bone Temple discussion, ladies and gentlemen. This film is amazing. Seriously. Like, if Chivo, obviously, I'm recommending you all 4 of the films so far. Watch them. If I had to rank them, I guess that's something I could do to close out. Last Place, 28 weeks later. Good. More action-packed. Just feels like it loses the immediacy of the terror of the first film. Coming in at number 3, I would say... I'll say 28 years later at number 3. The first 28 years later at number 3. A great film that has a lot to say about death, lots of beautiful, poignant things to say on the subject, that is a perfect reintroduction to this franchise. Just some stuff that holds it back, particularly like the ending. Coming in at number 2. Hello. Coming in at number 2. I'm going to go 28 Days Later. An incredible, fast-paced, just balls to the walls, intense, like, truly disorienting horror film. You know? Kind of reinvented the zombie genre, you know, bringing fast zombies into trend, you know? Gave completely new life to that subgenre. And then number 1, I'm going The Bone Temple. Genuinely, like, 28 weeks later, I would give a 7. Days, I would, Years and Days, I would give both of them 8s, and then Bone Temple, I would give a 9. So, in release order, that's 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I think that The Bone Temple is a new height for this franchise. And we'll see if they can cap it off. How many zombie movies have I seen? Honestly, not too many. Not too many. Horror in general is not a genre that I typically gravitate towards, and I don't know, when I was younger, I never watched many zombie films, because when I was a kid, I was terrified of zombies. They, like, scared the shit out of me. And, yeah, now that I've only recently started getting back into films and stuff like that, I don't know, I just, not back into films, but back into consistent and large film consumption. I don't know. I will try and digest more of the subgenre. There are more horror films in general. I need to get on that. I need to get on my horror grind. I get you. That's kind of hype, going from 1900s to now. That's pretty fucking hype. But yeah, this film, big recommend. This film's great. 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10. Pretty fantastic. The most minor of gripes, I wish that they showed more of what the infected see. But besides that, I don't know. That's really all I have to say about the film. It's incredible. Watch this franchise. Watch this film. Be excited for part 3, which is probably going to come out next year. Maybe even later this year. There was less than a year turnaround between the first film and this one. Let me see. When did 28 years later? That came out on the 19th of June last year, and this film in the UK was 14th of January this year. That's less than a year turnaround, and I'm pretty sure it was a double production, yeah. I'm pretty sure they shot them back to back. That would make the most sense. Yeah, just switching out the directors and whatnot. But yeah, less than a year turnaround. These films, I can't imagine. These films don't take long to make. You know, they're just like it's like countryside UK practical effects. You know, no like big VFX shots that are going to take a long time to perfect. The turnaround on one of these films, I imagine, would be quite quick. So I'm saying early next year is when part 3 is going to come out, and I'm very excited. Like, I have right here what could be a top 10 film of the year for me, and I plan on watching a lot of films this year. And it's the first film I've seen this year. It's the first new release that I have watched in a cinema this year. We're starting out with a solid 9. It's good shit right there. Good shit. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm going to head off now. I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to get myself something to eat. And then I'm going to bed. And I'm going to bed. Thank you for being here, Chivo. JC was here as well. Towards the start of the stream, Zay Ray and Getting By with Gerald were here too. Thank you guys for stopping in, listening to me blabber about this incredible fucking film. Go watch this franchise. Go out, support this film so we can get that third installment, that satisfying conclusion to this trilogy. Please, I need it. And yeah, I'll see you guys Saturday for a request stream. Maybe I could do the next batch of Beatles reactions Friday. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's it for me. See you guys next week for another movie review. I want to see Marty Supreme next week, and I want to do either a written review or a stream talking about that. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching.